Hi, welcome back to Shade Gardening with Perennials in Middle Tennessee, Part 3. This section we will talk about shade-tolerant shrubs and ground cover, and what else can I do, because there's some other ideas out there for you. My name is Jennifer Salter, and I'm a Rutherford County Master Gardener. A few shade-tolerant shrubs that I like are the following: Aucuba japonica, Oakleaf Hydrangea, Maple Leaf Viburnum, Buttonbush, and Virginia Sweetspire. These are just a few that I have in my yard, and there are plenty more out there, so you can do a little research and find lots of shrubs that will tolerate the shade. The first one, Aucuba japonica. This is a lovely plant. I've put it on my list because of its outstanding foliage, and it is a broadleaf evergreen, so you get winter interest with this plant. You get all year round. It's a slow grower, but it can reach heights of 6 to 9 feet. It's very low maintenance and can take full shade. I have 3 planted, and they are all in full shade. Picturata. This has a large yellow center to the foliage surrounded by dark green edges. Gold dust. It looks like it's been sprinkled with gold dust. And Mr. Goldstrike looks like the reverse of gold dust. All 3 of these will look beautiful in your yard, and the gold colors will just pop out of the deep shade. Next is my absolute favorite, and I think the favorite of most people here, the Oakleaf Hydrangea. Oakleaf Hydrangea, this is a deciduous shrub, grows typically 6 feet tall, sometimes as tall as 8. One of mine, this one right here on the right-hand side, this is probably about 9 feet tall right now. Blooms are described as pyramidal panicles of white flowers that last from May through July. Ruby slippers in the upper left photo. This begins as a white flower, which gradually turns pink and then a deep ruby color. The mature stems of the Oakleaf Hydrangea will exfoliate, and in the winter you reveal a brown inner bark, which is really attractive during the winter time again when they are very visible. Maple Leaf Viburnum, this is native to eastern North America, and this plant is able to do very well in full shade. Maple Leaf Viburnum can grow between 3 to 6 feet tall, and in mid to late spring, tiny white flowers appear. These flowers will give way to pea-sized fruit that ripen to bluish black in the late summer, and in the fall, the leaves put on a show with their color ranging from pale yellow to bright yellow, to orange to pink, rose, or reddish purple to magenta, depending on the light exposure. Maple leaf viburnums are very attractive to butterflies and birds. Buttonbush. This is a new addition to my garden. It grows well in wet soils and stand in water, and there's a spot in my garden where it can stay quite soggy for many days after a rain. So far, it's thriving in that spot. Buttonbush can grow between 6 to 12 feet tall and has an open, rounded habit. If it becomes unmanageable, just cut it back in the early spring to revitalize it. In early to midsummer, it produces tiny, fragrant, white pom-pom-like flower heads, which are very attractive to hummingbirds, butterflies, and other pollinators. These flower heads will mature into hard seed balls that stay around all winter long. This is one of those year-long interest plants with late spring flowers, summer and fall foliage, and fall-winter seed balls. Virginia Sweetspire. This is a great substitute for burning bush, which is considered invasive in our area. It thrives in moist soils, but will adapt to dry conditions if it's given plenty of water during its first year while it's becoming established. It's most attractive where it can receive about 6 hours of sun. Sweetspire will grow about 3 to 5 feet tall, although it can get taller and leggier in shadier areas. The flowers are small, white, and fragrant, and they appear on bottle brush-like clusters in May or June and will last for several weeks. They are followed by light tan seed heads that persist into the fall and provide a contrast with the brilliant fall foliage. The foliage changes from the rich greens of summer to brilliant red, orange, and yellow in the fall. Some cultivars even have a deep wine red or reddish purple color in the fall. The peak fall color time is November, An important note here is that sweet spire is considered deer tolerant, so that's another plus for the garden. We're now going to move on to some ground cover for the shade. We'll talk about Aucuba, Lamium, wild ginger, pachysandra, and Carex. Aucuba. This is as hardy as it is colorful. Aucuba reptans is a reliable ground cover for shady or partially shady areas. It grows about 6 inches tall, and it's a great way to edge a garden path or walkway. It spreads slowly so it won't get out of control. It offers a variety of foliage colors, including green, burgundy, or variegated, and all varieties have short spikes of lovely blue, white, or pink flowers in the spring. Lamium, or spotted deadnettle. This is an easy care ground cover that is colorful all summer long. Lamium has shimmery, silvery white leaves with green margins, and it produces short spikes of white, pink, or bluish purple flowers in the late spring and early summer. There are varieties that have solid green, gold, or even variegated leaves. Next up, we have Asarum, or wild ginger. This is called wild ginger because its rhizome, or underground stem, tastes and smells similar to the ginger root, but they're not related. Asarum likes moist, shaded areas. The leaves can be heart-shaped or kidney-shaped, and the flowers appear in the early spring on ground-level stems. They can be easily hidden from view, so choose the plant you want for its foliage. Varieties include Asarum canadense, or Canadian wild ginger, which is native, and Asarum splendens, or Chinese wild ginger, which is darker, glossier foliage. Next, we have pachysandra. This is an evergreen perennial that belongs to the boxwood family. It can grow in deep shade and is therefore well suited for a shade garden. This is a shrubby ground cover which produces a tiny white flower in the spring. It grows well in shady locations such as under trees and shrubs and along walkways. The most common variety is Pachysandra terminalis, or Japanese pachysandra. Green sheen, which is pictured here, has extra glossy leaves, and here's also the variegated variety, which is a paler green with white edging. Moving on to the last of our ground cover group, Carex, which is also called sedge. This is an ornamental grass and can be cut back down to the ground in the winter. It's a popular ground cover that can be found in many different shades and colors, and here are just a few. The bluewood sedge, or Carex flaxosperma, is a native to Tennessee and can handle full shade. It has attractive clumps of blue-green leaves. Banana boat is noted for its variegated foliage and typically grows between 6 to 12 inches tall. The gold sedge can provide some dramatic color to the shade garden, but if it's planted in too much deep shade, it can get very tall and floppy. So, now that we've gone through perennials, what else can we do to bring color to our garden? Well, there are pots and hanging baskets, all sizes and colors, yard art, pathways with light or dark colored rock or mulch, and annuals. There's so many different varieties out there. I use hanging baskets a lot in my garden. I plant baskets of ferns or annuals. You can bring in interest with whimsical planters, like this wrought iron bathtub, which has a Japanese painted fern and a hardy begonia. I've planted in these pots elephant ear with caladiums and creeping jenny and painted fern, Japanese painted ferns as well. Experiment and be creative. I love red pots, so most of my pots are red, but go for colors, and pots will bring you height and color in the shade garden. Here I have hanging baskets of impatiens to bring a spot of color to a dark corner. And I love pots of different colored caladiums all over. These will really add some pop-in color to the summer garden. Yard art, it's not for all, but if it's for you, I say go for it. I love it. To me, it's my personality that I'll bring into the garden. Each one of my pieces here has a different story behind it. So go ahead and bring them in. Let your kids juice them. Let the grandkids juice. Put something that you can talk about in the garden. Pathways. You can go with rock, you can go with mulch, you can line them with different things. I've created a ring around my herb bed here in my small sunnyish spot. On the other picture, you can see a mulch walkway. So there are plenty of ways out there to add different textures and colors to the garden in the shade with your pathways. Annuals for the garden. These are just a small amount of them. There's plenty more out there. Oxalis. Mine have proved to be perennial in my garden, so that's a good sign. Begonia, Terrania, Coleus, I mass those in pots as well. New Guinea impatiens, sweet potato vine, fuchsia, polka dot plant, lobelia, caladiums, nicotiana, and coleus. All of these will do really well in pots or lined along walkways and bring you some color to your shade garden. That's it for this segment, and thank you so much for tuning in and visiting with us. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Email at mastergardeners.rc@gmail.com or call the Rutherford County Extension Office 615-898-7710. I have some useful websites here for you too, and go have fun in your garden and enjoy the shade gardening that you've been given. Thank you very much for tuning in.